I promise you've never heard of a story quite like this one. So, sit tight, because today we are unlocking a whimsical chapter from the past that falls somewhere between historical fact and a fever dream. Picture this: a 19th century palace, shaped not by blueprints or reality, but compelled by visions. A literal dream palace. And not just any palace, but one commissioned by an Ottoman sultan whose eccentricity dazzled the empire itself. That's right. This is the tale of Sultan Abdul Hamid II and the otherworldly Yildiz Palace, a hidden gem of history that's equal parts surreal and fascinating. First, let us rewind a moment to set the stage. The year is 1876, and the Ottoman Empire, once the most powerful state in the world, is now confronted with the tremors of an impending decline. The Sea of Marmara glistens under the golden Turkish sun as waves of political unrest and the echoes of European influence ripple across the empire. It's here that we meet Abdul Hamid II, a 34-year-old prince who never dreamed of becoming a sultan, yet finds himself unexpectedly ascending the throne after the deposition of his older brother. Little did anyone know, this reluctant sultan would go on to change the architectural legacy of Istanbul forever. Unlike his predecessors, Abdul Hamid II was not your typical sultan. Unlike the lavish and larger-than-life rulers of old, Abdul Hamid was renowned for being reclusive, suspicious, and some would say, even peculiar. Obsessively paranoid about potential assassinations, he avoided public appearances, curtailed traditional palace life, and shrank his circle of confidants to an almost comical degree. It's said he preferred the company of his pigeons and his books over court dignitaries. But even more intriguingly, Abdul Hamid II had vivid, recurring dreams. Not the kind of daydreams filled with fleeting fancy, but dreams so vivid and detailed that he would awaken and immediately scribble their content into journals. He believed these nocturnal visions were messages, clues even, that held a hidden purpose. One such dream haunted him persistently, a white palace that perched atop a hill overlooking the Bosphorus Strait. It shimmered in his mind's eye as though it were constructed entirely of moonlight. The details of its structure unfolded night after night. Intricate walls adorned with celestial designs, gardens laid out as symmetry's perfection, and fountains that whispered the language of dreams. He became obsessed with the notion that unless the palace was built, the empire itself might face an irreversible doom. Thus, the journey of Yildiz Palace, a name that translates to Star Palace, began. But Abdul Hamid's dream palace wasn't just whimsy made real. It was also a fortress of necessity. Much like his paranoid nature, he designed it as a secluded sanctuary, far away from the traditional sultanate seat at the Topkapi Palace, a more vulnerable location nestled closer to crowded urban sprawl in Istanbul. Suspicious of being poisoned, stabbed, or betrayed by his own people, Abdul Hamid viewed Yildiz both as a celestial haven and an impenetrable keep. Over the course of 20 years, Yildiz Palace evolved into not just a residence, but an entire city within itself. It became a sprawling complex of buildings connected through labyrinthine pathways. Its main mansion, known as Shale Köşkü, was a curious mixture of Ottoman luxury, European influences, and an almost fairy tale-like aesthetic. The interiors were unlike anything replicated anywhere else. Elaborately woven carpets, faux moats, impossibly complex calligraphy on its ceilings, and chandeliers heavy with diamonds. As his obsession grew, even the furniture and geometrical inlays followed descriptions from his nocturnal visions. In Abdul Hamid's mind, these weren't mere decorations. They were vital, supernatural keys. But here's where the story gets juicier. Because Yildiz was far more than just a sultan's palace. Abdul Hamid used his beloved dream-inspired residence as the brain of his empire. Inside one wing of the palace was something remarkably advanced for its time, what historians have termed the first Ottoman intelligence bureau. Yes, You heard that right. A covert center to spy upon his enemies, his allies, and sometimes even his own ministers. Abdul Hamid was, in many ways, his own James Bond, dictating codes and intercepting messages from Yildiz in the dead of night, surrounded by splendor no one other than his closest agents could see. However, that isn't the end of the palace's mysteries. The gardens of Yildiz, deemed divine by those who walked them, were decked with rare flowers shipped from as far away as Japan, India, and Peru, sculpted meticulously until they resembled otherworldly landscapes. Visitors described them as resembling Eden itself. Yet the entire complex retained an eerie secrecy. It was said that if someone entered Yildiz unauthorized, they'd never see daylight again. Histories, rightly or wrongly, have amplified such claims into full-blown legends, cups that vanished into thin air, and fountains that ran with wine only for royalty. By 1909, the reign of Abdul Hamid II ended abruptly in an uprising. Stripped of his titles and sent into exile, the Sultan left his beloved Yildiz, never to return. The grandeur of the space faded, and it slid into obscurity, caught between myth and reality. Today, fragments of Abdul Hamid's celestial vision remain scattered across Istanbul. Yildiz Palace now serves partially as a museum. Its opulent halls and mysterious pathways hint at a dream long realized and half-wrecked, but never fully erased. Whether you view it as the embodiment of fevered brilliance or escapist fantasy is for you to decide. So, what do you think? Do dreams hold untapped power over our world? Or was Abdul Hamid's fixation nothing more than indulgent eccentricity? Whatever the answer, the story of Yildiz Palace remains an unparalleled monument to the audacity of dreams. Maybe, just maybe, buried within its labyrinthine corridors are some of the answers we've yet to find. History hides its gems, and not all of them are told with swords and conquests. Some are simply shaped by the ethereal murmurs of a sultan's dreams.